Let's talk trauma, but not just any type of trauma. Let's talk about childhood trauma. So often we hear of situations where our youth hurt other children, hurt adults, and sometimes even themselves. But not many people ask the question why. Not many people are willing to see beyond the surface and see what's really going on within the hearts of our youth. But I'm here to change that. I am Miss Barbados United Nations Simone Williams, and I'm here to challenge you to look beyond the surface and to really look and see what's in the heart of our youth. Join me as we prioritize the mental health of our youth. There are three major players in any child's development. They're the parents, who are the primary caregivers, the teachers, who are the secondary caregivers, and the general community, which are the third caregivers. We as adults must prioritize looking for the key signs of our mental health and ensure that our children develop to be the best humans that they can be for a brighter tomorrow. And we are back with none other than the Honorable Minister of Vibes, Charity of the Year 2022, Mr. Don Leacock.
Quite the introduction.
Yes, yes. So tell me a bit about yourself. Of course, you mentioned that, well, Charity of the Year, you've done some amazing work with Build Up BIM. So tell me a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm born here in Barbados, born and raised here, went to Harrison College. After that, I got academic scholarship to go away to study at University of South Florida. So I went there in 2014, left Barbados. Over the next 4 years, got two bachelors, one in accounting and economics, the other in finance and international business. So that was from 2014 to 2018. Stayed there and worked 2019 into early 2020. And then I moved to Bermuda, where I was for the last 2 years before moving back here. When I moved back here in early last year, 2022, that's when I started officially all the charity work I was doing. When I was away in Bermuda for the 2 years before that, I was helping out a lot of people doing food drives and whatnot, but just, in quiet, in silence. I wasn't here, so I was just, contributing money. My brother and other people here were helping me distribute them and whatnot to the families around by me. But when I got back here and really saw the situation, I left Barbados as a little boy at 18. I came back last year, I was 25 at the time. And it shocked me that the realities of the situations that people were living in. So that's why I felt it was so important to help. So for the whole of last year, I would say Build Up BIM it has two main components. The youth arm of it, we're trying to model it after like the YMCA or something like that. So we do lots of mentorship sessions. We work with them and we do our own mentorship sessions as well. We help kids with back to school, laptops, everything you can think of on that front. And then we also have the poverty alleviation arm of it, which is think about Salvation Army. That's what we're trying to model it after. So there's lots of food drives, helping out the elderly in various ways, even helping them get groceries, stuff like that, because they physically can't go there. And I would say that those are our two biggest focuses right now. So the poverty alleviation aspect of it, and then the youth mentorship.
I can see where this is Charity of the Year. Okay, so you said mentorship. So what exactly do you specialize when it comes to mentorship for children?
We don't have like a specific specialization. It's just that I would say children need role models. That's one of the most important things they need in their life. I consider myself a role model. Hopefully, other people do. Lots of parents allow their children to be in my custody, so that I guess people think the same way. But children need role models in their life, and that's one of the most important things. We come from families which are often very broken. Throughout the black diaspora around the world, there's single mother families all over, not just here in Barbados. And having those positive male role models in a lot of young boys' life really helps them develop in ways that they wouldn't have if they didn't have that role model aspect. So I'm just, volunteering my time a lot more so. That's more important than any other monetary or gifts that I could do on social media, anything like that. Just spending time with them, talking to them about their goals, their ambitions, where they see themselves in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Nobody's asking them those questions. And those are the most important questions that you need.
Okay, so you would have mentioned that people aren't really asking these questions. So when it comes to mental health, well, obviously, mental health is a great part of self-development and mentorship.
Definitely.
How do you prioritize not only mental health for yourself, but also your mentees?
So me personally, I like meditation. You know, that's a Eastern philosophy that people are starting to adopt more and more out here in the Western world. I try to spend 9 minutes in complete silence with myself every single day, and that's what people struggle with the most, I would say. Being completely alone with ourselves, with our thoughts. Like, let's say when we get into bed, we try to lie down and go to sleep. A lot of people are like, oh, let me just scroll through my phone a little bit more because they just don't want to be alone with their thoughts for any kind of period of time. When they're alone at home, oh, let me eat something, let me watch something on TV. It's never just let me sit down and actually just think about myself. How was my day today? How can I improve on my day today? We don't have those conversations with ourselves. So, talking to yourself alone, spending that time alone, that quality time with yourself, it scares a lot of people. But I would say personally, that's what I thrive in doing. That little meditation time, that time to just journal and do stuff like that. So that's what I preach to my mentees as well. But on a smaller scale, I would tell them, just take about 10 deep breaths, but just about 30 seconds. So that's how we start. The YMCA, which is where I do a lot of my work, they're a Christian organization, so they start with prayer, moments of silence, stuff like that. It's generally the same thing. So I would say, what in the mental health problems that I'm seeing in Barbados right now, I would definitely say a lot of them do stem from consuming a lot of social media. Social media can be, can have great uses as we use to fundraise with our charity, but it can also have very negative uses as well. People trying to compete for likes, that's probably one of the biggest things that young girls would suffer with. If we're talking about females, like everybody was like, oh, she got 1,000 likes on that picture. How do I get 2,000? Stuff like that. It can form to, anxiety, depression, anorexia, all kind of things like that. So that is definitely one of the negative aspects of it. And there's not really much you can do about that because we can't really, tell people to stop posting stuff like that. So we can just have really conversations like this, conversations with the people. Like, why do you feel the need for others' reassurance and whatnot? Like, you are the most important person in your life, and we have to more preach self love than anything else. Like, post because you look amazing, not because you want to hope that other people think you look amazing. So stuff like that.
I personally don't mind sitting in silence, but in terms of meditating for 9 minutes straight without looking at
I
the
mean,
phone, and
that was, a build up. So when I started, I would say in 2016 or so around, I started with 3 minutes. And it was just like I was focusing on my breath, like just inhale, exhale for 3 minutes. And but it was hard. I was obviously having lots of thoughts rushing into my mind at that time. But over time, you slowly build out and it just gets longer and longer. The monks that I like kind of learned it from, they were like, if everybody should do an hour. And if you don't think you have time, then you should do 2 hours.
that's an interesting
So like
concept.
you can't get enough of it because it really helps you to master yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay, so my next question is, what do you do when you don't want to face your thoughts? Because obviously you're sitting with yourself, and then the first few times that you start meditating, again, you have the rush of thoughts. So how do you deal with some truths that you can't handle?
Well, I mean, you have to. I guess it's hard. It's hard for that. Especially for guys. Guys are taught, not to deal with their emotions and whatnot in society. A lot of people, therapy is becoming more popular. I have never personally done it myself, so I can't really like recommend doing it. But a lot of people that I even know do it, and they get benefits from it. So that's a road that people take. But for me personally, it's just a build up. Like any amount of problems in life, like just problems in general, you need to address as soon as possible. That's what I would definitely say. Because the longer you take to address it, it's just gonna build up. It's just gonna get worse, the compound effect of these problems. So addressing it to yourself or to your therapist as soon as humanly possible, I think that would be the best solution.
Okay. Okay, understood. And as you said, preach self love.
Mhm.
So, how do you preach self love to children, especially in very broken households? So
Mhm.
for example, when I grew up,
Mhm.
well, still kind of growing, but I never had relaxers and what's not because of not being able to do with shrinkage. So often coming here picky.
Uh-huh.
So I've been battling with natural hair for the longest time, and then it's only when I got about 17 that I started raising my hair by just cutting it.
Mhm.
So I always had boy cuts. So how do you preach self love to obviously a younger a younger age group?
I wouldn't so much so focus on like image because that's like image based
Mhm,
self love, but like when we're just interacting with the kids and whatnot, it's like words of affirmation
mhm,
and just genuinely like giving like attending to them in a loving way. I find a lot of the older educators and whatnot are very quick to get impatient
mhm.
and shout at children. They've been doing this for 30 years. The children might be pissing them off by now. But I've only been dealing, was a child just very recently, so I couldn't have been dealing with children too long. So I feel like that patience and understanding and just never yelling at them for no reason. I find that, as I said, a lot of the older educators here in Barbados are very impatient and ill-mannerly with the children, I would say. So just slowing down, talk to them at their level, and just being more relatable to them, like treat them like a brother or whatnot, so that they have a friend. They don't see you as more so like enforcing the rules. They see you as somebody that they can confide in, and that's what you really want. Because then that's the point where they'll come to you and be like, "Hey, I might be having a problem at home. How do I fix it?" But if a lot of people, children will never get to that stage with. If you're just shouting at them, screaming at them, like, don't do that, don't do touch that, don't play there. So you just have to, try to more understand them, be slower with them, softer with them. Something I would encourage all educators, especially the ones that are not in the millennial age group, to do.
Okay, so another question. So what if I'm now starting to be a teacher
Mhm.
and I'm climbing in the years? How do I maintain that love for children rather than being, tolerant? So how
Mhm.
do I maintain the love?
I mean, it's just something that want to do. Well, like, if you want to be an educator, if that's something that's a lifelong passion of yours, then that's something that you should, be easily able to do. You shouldn't have to maintain the love per se. But, if you're just doing it for a paycheck or something like that, then it would be a lot easier to, fall out of love with it per se. But I would say the biggest thing is patience. Obviously, we're adults. We've lived life a lot longer. We're far more intelligent than the children are. And a lot of the times it's that adults think that children should pick up on things quicker than they maybe do. Might have forgotten how long it took them to pick up on things back in the day. And that's what it really just boils down to. It's patience I would say would be the major key. Don't ever like raise your voice with the child or anything. Treat them like your friend, like your genuine friend. And you're just trying to educate your friend at that point.
Okay, nice. Okay, so my last question for you today would be to all the other adults out there or to persons who tend to children.
Mhm.
What are these signs that you should look out for in terms of if it is that is a very at-risk child? What are these signs that you should look out for?
If a child is more quiet than they usually are, I would say definitely that would be one of the more permanent signs. If they're just more withdrawn, kind of not playing with their friends, isolating themselves as, even body language, whether if they were in class, they used to be attentive and they're like physically like this, not taking up too much space, physical things like that, all of those can be very good signs. And then, as I was talking about earlier, you really have to just have built that trust with the child. Because any teacher in the world can go up to any child and be like, hey, what's wrong? But it's only if the child really has a bond with you and trusts you and thinks that they can confide in you that they'll actually tell you, okay, hey, well, I was in, some kind of domestic issue happened to me last week and I've been thinking about it and that's why I've been so upset. But it's only if you can build that bond and trust with each child that they can, you can get to that level with them. So, and then that just leads me back to where I said you just have to be patient with them. Build that connection. Don't think of children as just someone that you go there and like spout out a syllabus to. Actually, form connections with them, and then they'll be able to open up to you a lot more. And when they open up to you is when you can truly help them.
Okay. And that was it from the Honorable Mr. Don Leacock,
Mhm.
Minister of Vibes. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.